WFYI Podcasts, brought to you by Bloomington, home to the Indiana Hoosiers and over 200,000 acres of fall foliage in the Hoosier National Forest. Indulge in seasonal flavors at the Elm, experience breathtaking views atop 4 fire towers, or catch a Big Ten football game at Memorial Stadium. More, including how to plan your fall getaway, at visitbloomington.com.
We're going to take a trip right now. Like we always do about this time.
This is a journey into sound. Break it down.
I'm Kyle Long, and you're listening to Cultural Manifesto. On this week's show, we'll celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month with an hour of music from the late Juan Orrego-Salas, a composer and founder of Indiana University's Latin American Music Center. Orrego-Salas is a significant figure in the history of Indiana music, and perhaps the most important Latin American musician in Indiana during the 20th century. Juan Orrego-Salas was born in Santiago, Chile in 1919. His early life was filled with music. Bach and Stravinsky were key influences on the young composer. Orrego-Salas established his career as a composer and educator in Chile, and the majority of his education occurred in his home country too, aside from a 2-year period in the United States from 1944 to 1946, where he studied composition with a variety of teachers, including the great American composer Aaron Copland. Orrego-Salas would return to the United States permanently in 1961 when he accepted an offer to become the founding director of the Latin American Music Center at IU Bloomington. The Latin American Music Center was founded with funding from the Rockefeller Foundation. The center's mission is to promote the academic study, performance, and research of Latin American music. Now, in its 63rd year, the center manages one of the largest archives of 20th century Latin American art music in the world. The center also organizes music festivals, performances, and conferences. During a 2011 interview, Orrego-Salas recalled the founding of the Latin American Music Center. The project was initially led by Jack Harrison of the Rockefeller Foundation.
I was contacted by the embassy saying that Mr. Harrison was coming to Santiago and he wanted to see me. And that's when I met him. And that's when he asked me if I would be interested in being the director. That was a purpose of his trip to Chile, to ask me if I would be interested in being the director of a center for the promotion and research of Latin American music. And I said, yes, I would be very much interested. He said, we want to establish it in Washington as part of the OAS. I said, well, I'm sorry to say that I disagree thoroughly with that. The idea of establishing it's very good. I think it should be incorporated into a university. It needs the participation of a faculty interested in this. A faculty that could be initiated in the existence of this music.
Orrego-Salas retired as director of the Latin American Music Center in 1987, and he remained in Bloomington, Indiana until his death in 2019 at the age of 100. Though he spent the majority of his life in Indiana, Orrego-Salas remained an influential and celebrated figure in his homeland, Chile. In 1992, he was awarded Chile's National Prize for Musical Arts. Orrego-Salas left behind a substantial catalog of music, and for the next hour, I'll share important examples of his work. We'll start with 3 movements from his 1948 piece, Canciones Castellanas. We just heard 3 movements from Canciones Castellanas, composed by Bloomington, Indiana's Juan Orrego-Salas. On this week's show, we're celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month with an hour of music from Juan Orrego-Salas. Up next, we'll hear a solo guitar piece titled Esquinas, composed by Orrego-Salas in 1971. We just heard Esquinas, composed by the Chilean-born Bloomington, Indiana composer Juan Orrego-Salas. Up next, we'll listen to the 3rd movement of his 1954 work, Concert Serenade. Cultural Manifesto will return with more music from Juan Orrego-Salas after this short break.
WFYI podcasts brought to you by Bloomington, home to the Indiana Hoosiers and over 200,000 acres of fall foliage in the Hoosier National Forest. Indulge in seasonal flavors at the Elm, experience breathtaking views atop 4 fire towers, or catch a Big Ten football game at Memorial Stadium. More, including how to plan your fall getaway, at visitbloomington.com.
I'm Kyle Long, and you're listening to Cultural Manifesto. On this week's show, we're celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month with an hour of music from the composer Juan Orrego-Salas. He was born in Santiago, Chile in 1919 and permanently moved to Bloomington, Indiana in 1961, where he served as the founding director of IU's Latin American Music Center. Orrego-Salas passed away in Bloomington in 2019 at the age of 100. In addition to his work in Bloomington, Orrego-Salas had a presence in Indianapolis, too. During the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, his music was performed by the Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra. In 1986, he composed the piece Riley's Merriment as part of the dedication ceremony for a new wing of Riley Hospital. Up next, we'll listen to a unique piece Orrego-Salas composed for the world-renowned Chilean folk group Quilapayún. Recorded in 1982, this is Quilapayún with A Song for Bolivar.
Tu herencia, Padre, fueron ríos y llanuras, campanares. Tu herencia es el pan nuestro de cada día,
That was Quilapayún with A Song for Bolivar, composed by Bloomington, Indiana's Juan Orrego-Salas. On this week's show, we're celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month with an hour of music from the composer Juan Orrego-Salas. Up next, we'll hear the second movement from one of his best-known works, the sextet for B-flat clarinet, string quartet, and piano. That was the second movement of the sextet for B-flat clarinet, string quartet, and piano, composed by Bloomington, Indiana's Juan Orrego-Salas. On this week's show, we've been celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month by looking back at the life and music of Orrego-Salas, an important composer in his home country, Chile, and a towering figure in Indiana music history. Orrego-Salas died in Bloomington, Indiana in 2019 at the age of 100. We'll end with music from his 1971 piece for saxophone and piano. And if you value all the news and music you hear on this station, please consider making a donation now at WFYI.org. Each week, I have the privilege of sharing important Indiana music with our listeners in Indianapolis, Lafayette, Terre Haute, and Crawfordsville. But I can't do that without your help. So please consider supporting this station now at WFYI.org. Cultural Manifesto is hosted and produced by me, Kyle Long. Thank you for listening.
WFYI Podcasts, brought to you by Bloomington, home to the Indiana Hoosiers and over 200,000 acres of fall foliage in the Hoosier National Forest. Indulge in seasonal flavors at the Elm, experience breathtaking views atop 4 fire towers, or catch a Big Ten football game at Memorial Stadium. More, including how to plan your fall getaway, at visitbloomington.com.